Scarlet Everose here, back to explore another complex character. Today we're diving into Kaneki Ken from Tokyo Ghoul, the quiet, bookish young man thrown into a world of monsters, morality, and madness. On the surface, Kaneki is a soft-spoken and sensitive, but underneath, he carries chaos, trauma, and dark tendencies that make him one of the most fascinating quote-unquote red flags in anime. This episode will unpack both sides of Kaneki. One, his vulnerability, dangerous transformation, and emotional turmoil. Let's dive in. Before we get started, thank you for all your love and support. Episode 21 is about Kaneki, and I've been excited to explore his mind, his struggles, and his growth. Also, don't forget you can follow me on Instagram, Spotify, and now TikTok for more content and behind-the-scenes fun. Disclaimer here, I'm not a professional psychologist. This is just my personal analysis and opinion on Kaneki. Alright, let's dive in. Segment 1. The red flags of trauma and chaos. Kaneki's red flags come from his circumstances, but they're intense. Isolation and withdrawal. He struggles to connect, sometimes pushing people away to protect them or himself. So I'm just gonna say this real quick about how this all happened real quick. So Kaneki Ken, or Ken Kaneki, however you guys want to call him, I'll just call him Kaneki throughout this whole video. He he goes on a date. Basically all this happened because of a date he went. He goes with this girl named Rice. And basically his best friend, at first he has a best friend named Hyde, which I'm gonna put his name in the video so that I don't butcher his real name, but we're gonna call Kaneki's friend Hyde. They've been childhood best friends for so long, and then Hyde kind of encourages Kaneki to ask her out, and she says yes and stuff. And they go to a book fair, they go into this date or whatever, until one night she tells Kaneki that she needs to go home. And Kaneki, being the gentleman that he is, tells her, "Oh, I'll take you home." And then, quote unquote, basically she starts to seduce him, and basically starts saying that he's really sweet, he's amazing, whatever. Basically kind of makes him think that they're gonna go further into a second date, plus probably giving him that chance that I truly want to believe that most guys would die for, if you guys know what I mean by that. So Rice, seduces him and stuff, and he gets really happy until she reveals that she's a ghoul, and she bites into his shoulder. If you guys do not know what a ghoul is, it is a demon that eats human flesh, takes form of a human, and lives among humans, at least in this show. And she starts throwing him around, trying to kill this poor guy. And, she starts mocking him, she kind of revealed that all of this was a plan, that she never really liked him, that she was basically luring him in just to eat him, basically. And that basically, while she was, trying to end his life, basically she started mocking him, saying, I thought you were gonna last that long. Mind you, she was putting these ghoul tentacles inside this poor guy's stomach while he's bleeding to death. And mind you, what saves him are these pipes from a construction work, and it falls on her. She dies, and Kaneki is rushed to the hospital, which they have to do an emergency surgery on him, trying to, because this dude is losing a lot of blood. And, basically, since they don't have any normal human blood, they have to resort to taking Rouse's blood, which is the girl that basically almost ate him and killed him on their first date. And basically, they transfused her blood into his blood, which is a symbolism that she turned into like a self-conscious. Yes, she's, spoilers ahead here, yes, she's actually dead, but her conscious lives within him. So, after that happens, he turns into a normal ghoul, which is considered a rare type, in the series, and a special type to full ghouls. And he tries to eat normal food, which he can't stomach anymore, because all he wants to eat is human flesh, which he refuses. But since Rise lives within him now, she starts to kind of tell him, hey, embrace your ghoul side, you can't be human anymore. And he really tries to resist the temptation for a long time in the episodes, until he finally gives in. And then that's when he starts having like I said, I'm not a professional psychiatrist, but I'm gonna say it like this: he starts suffering from multiple personality disorders. He has 4 different types of personality disorders, which I'll speak upon in this episode. And he tries, no pun intended, he tries to hide it from his best friend Hyde, and tries to make most of it, even though he feels like he doesn't want to continue living. But he makes a lot of friends, and he has a purpose in the show. Alright, let's keep going.
Segment 2: Compassion, Loyalty, and Greenish Flags. Even through all the chaos, Kaneki has a heart that drives him. Empathy. Despite everything, he often protects those who are weaker than him. So yes. So real quick, you guys, he, even though at first he doesn't like it, he doesn't know what to do with his new ghoul identity. He tries to hide it from his best friend Hyde. No pun intended there. But he starts learning that, there's a lot more people and ghouls that are weaker than him that need protection. So he goes out of his way to protect, his companions, his friends, his allies, and loyalty is very important to him. He cherishes his friends and allies, going to extreme lengths for them. So I'm just gonna say this really quick. I do want to apologize if there's are not a lot of videos of the topics that I talk about. So I'll be mostly explaining them just to the due of time, and just kind of keep going with it. So there's this one part where Kaneki saves his best friend from another ghoul that tries to eat him, and that's where he kind of starts going a little dark, even though he tries to hide that side of him. And Raz is no help either. The girl he supposedly went out with makes him almost eat his friend, his best friend Hyde, but he resists and takes him back to the coffee shop that they were before. And he gets really scared. He tries not to be around his best friend a lot, just to protect them. But he would go to great lengths to protect anyone he deems his friends, his love interest, which her name is Toka, by the way, and he protects her. So loyalty is very important to him, very, very important. and growth. Kaneki's journey is about learning to reconcile his human side with his ghoul side. His moral compass often shines through the darkness. So yes, throughout his personalities that he goes through, no matter what personality he switches on, he always will go back to kindness, no matter what he goes through. And that's what makes Kaneki a very, very powerful and popular character. I absolutely appreciate, especially a person like me that loves psychology. I just love, even though it's heartbreaking at times to see him go through a lot of things, but it really does show you that you see a lot of yourself in him. Like you have empathy for him. And his journey it's a journey everyone can learn about and take inspiration from that. Alright, let's keep going.
Segment 3. Conflicts, Trauma, and the Duality of Kaneki. Kaneki's stories is compelling because of the tension between his red flags and moral compass. Alright, with Toka and the coffee place. He struggles with connection, but ultimately strives to protect. So Kaneki has a love interest named Toka. She's a full ghoul, and she's a purple-headed girl as well. And she has one side of her hair covering her eye throughout the entire series. Anyway, so at first she resents Kaneki because her family got attacked by humans, like human hunters, like ghoul hunters, and she resents Kaneki, and she resents his best friend as well for going to the coffee shop, because that coffee shop is considered, mainly for, technically ghouls, but ghouls technically come out at night, so people don't either call the ghoul hunters on them or anything like that. But when she starts realizing about the whole situation with Kaneki, about becoming a half ghoul for a bit, she resents him at first more for it, because now he's attracting a lot more attention between ghouls and humans now, but she protects him regardless, and he protects her. And so yeah, that's Toka right there. And basically towards the end, he gets his happily ever after, which he deserves with her. And now with his enemies and stuff. So basically, when Kaneki enters his second personality called the white hair Kaneki, basically the second personality of his is very ruthless. He doesn't care about he doesn't hesitate as much when he was half versus when he was a half ghoul, because he kind of just says, you know what, screw it, I'm a full ghoul now, and if I have to protect my friends from enemies, so be it. And basically the coffee shop that basically ghouls usually go to when humans are not around, that burns down due to ghouls versus humans there. And he goes through a lot of things, and his coping mechanism with himself is very much like, he doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't know whether to keep going with it. Like, he's like yes, he accepts, finally after so long, he accepts that he can't go back to a human now, so he's like, screw it, I'm a ghoul now, screw it, if I have to risk my own life for it, I'm gonna do it. But throughout the series, he realizes with each personality helps him get character growth. Sometimes he goes into an evil protagonist, which is, for one, the white Kaneki is more, he's merciful, but he's ruthless regardless. But his other, which I'll get more into it probably more later on, but there's two sides of him that are like, I would consider, the meanest, which is the white hair Kaneki and the Grim Reaper Kaneki. That's probably one of the most, ruthless of his 5 personalities that he has. Because in the Grim Reaper one, he does not give a crap about anything or anyone. He kind of loses his kindness right there for a bit, but then it comes back. He comes back. But Kaneki, what basically Kaneki kind of shows us is that we all go through seasons and changes throughout our life, but it's really up to us whether we choose to be good, whether we choose to be evil. We can't say we're entirely good, but we can't say we're entirely bad. It's all about choice and perspective of whether we choose to live on the good side or live on the bad side. There's no in between. We could, but at the end of the day, it's people's choice whether they continue living their life positively or not. Alright, let's keep going.
Segment 4, final thoughts plus what's next. Kaneki teaches us trauma and red flags don't erase the complexity of a character. So before we go, I know I said we're going to talk about his personalities, which I am real quick. So Kaneki has these 4 personalities. One, his Kaneki Ken side, which was his human side before everything chaotic happened. Second is the white hair Kaneki. And basically what happens is that the white hair Kaneki gets, tortured by this other ghoul named Jason. And basically Kaneki goes through, I might be wrong, but 30 days of torture. I'm not gonna say a lot because there's a lot of things I cannot say because of YouTube and I don't want to get demonetized. But basically, what happened is that he basically gets tortured for those months. And since Kaneki kind of starts to hallucinate a little bit, he starts to hallucinate Rez, the girl that he went out with, and basically she starts talking about his past, which basically I'm gonna put it here. Kaneki had an abusive mother that would leave him alone a lot of the time. She was a workaholic. Basically she put herself first before her own child. And there was this one time where I think his aunt comes to visit and she basically just ignores Kaneki and stuff completely, and then she overworks herself and then she passes on early, passes on. And he's by himself, and then Raz, the girl, starts telling him, would you hurt your own aunt just for your mom to look at you, just for your own mom to take care of you and stuff. And since, like I said, he was being tortured, and his mind, he starts to hallucinate, right? So basically,
basically that's when the white Kaneki, his second personality, starts coming out, and basically he finally accepts instead of being a half ghoul, he turns into a completely full ghoul, and his hair, instead of black, turns white, which is a symbolism to the stress he went through, the torture he went through. He does this really iconic thing, which I would not recommend you guys do unless you guys are willing to do it. Go right ahead. But he does this really iconic thing where he cracks his own index finger when he starts getting really vicious and stuff like that, because the person that tortured him, Jason, kept doing it a lot, so it became a habit for him. And Kaneki, this white Kaneki, if he doesn't like what you do, he'll make you do math. Seriously, he'll make you do math as a torturing thing, because I think that's what Jason did to him. And he starts to kind of develop bad habits from the person that almost hurt him. And basically, Kaneki starts being ruthless, starts taking different sides. And then he then has a different side, which is I call him the investigator side, which he loses his memory during a battle with one of the ghouls. I forgot who it was, but he loses that side of him and his memories, and he starts going by the name of Heisei. And this character has no recollection of who he was before. He just thinks of himself as an investigator of ghouls and just helper. Until his white Kaneki side, I would call it the most ruthless emo side of him, because he wears black nail polish. He starts going crazy, he starts going crazy again. The white Kaneki kind of, makes him wake up, basically. He's still crazy. Like, after what Kaneki went through, that shy image that he was portraying as, that personality snapped. Like I said, yes, he is kind regardless of what he went through, depending on who it is, but he just turned really ruthless. And then this is like one of his darkest personalities, called the Grim Reaper side. So basically, this is Kaneki's full on, completely evil, without remorse. This is like without kindness in his heart, basically. One of his troop members that he was with when he was Heisei, the other personality that he was in, basically one of his troop members dies, and one of the other troop members that lives tells him, "Do you care about us? Do you care about this?" Basically, that side is manipulative. That side, it doesn't care about anyone else, but it doesn't stay really long. But that is one of Kaneki's really ruthless side. Really, really ruthless. And then the last side of him, which is called the One-Eyed Ghoul King, that one is completely ruthless. He's still himself, but he's not shy anymore. He's more ruthless, but he's still kind. That's the part that he takes over this One-Eyed Ghoul. Basically, how can I explain this without spoiling too much, I would recommend watch the series if you guys are not queasy to gore and blood. The One-Eyed Ghoul, I think that he's called the One-Eyed Ghoul King. Basically, he becomes he kills off one king that basically, yes, I'm gonna say like the spoilers ahead here. Yes, that girl he went on a date with, yes, she quote unquote is dead supposedly, but she's not really, and Kaneki has to kill her and stuff like that, because this One-Eyed Ghoul feeds off everyone basically. And then that one side of him, that I think the one-eyed Ghoul side of him takes over, and then that's where he basically stays. And basically all of his personalities in his head meet him during different stages of the series, and stuff like that. So I would have to say the darkest though would have to be the Grim Reaper one, even though it's one of the shortest, but it shows that everyone has a dark side, but it's whether you choose to be it or not. So yes, those are his sides. Personality shifts reveals hidden strengths, coping mechanism, and dangerous tendencies. So what I was just saying about his personality. Even mostly good characters can have pronounced red flag behavior worth analyzing, which he was my absolute favorite to analyze. I might make this a part 2. You guys let me know down below in the comments if you guys want a part 2, because there's a lot more about Kaneki. I would have to say this is probably part 1. So yes, so thank you all for exploring the trouble and psychologically complex Kaneki Ken with me. Next episode we'll diving into Tokyo Ghoul, and we'll uncover more layers of its dark, fascinating characters. Stay curious, stay passionate, and remember, even mostly good characters can have intense flaws. Per usual, love y'all, bye!